Okay, so this is a question on a para summary. Okay, so let's see it. Okay, so as a view with political philosophy, egalitarianism has to do both with how people are treated and with distributive justice. So just egalitarianism is basically a concept, okay, that deals with equality for everyone. Okay, so let's see. Okay, civil rights movement. So we know that the initial this first line. Okay, so the author says that egalitarianism is a concept which deals with two aspects. Okay, the first aspect is how people are treated, and the second aspect is with the distributive justice. Okay, now so civil rights movements, okay, reject certain types of social and political discrimination and demand that people be treated equally. Okay, so how people are treated. Okay, so treated equally, so we know that how people are treated equally is a subject matter of a civil rights movement. Okay, now distributive justice is another form of egalitarianism that addresses life outcomes and the allocation of valuable things such as income, wealth, or other goods. Okay, so the distributive justice generally deals with, let's say, how resources are distributed. Okay, so how resources are distributed. Okay, so we know that till now the author has explained, or not explained, he has actually mentioned the concept of egalitarianism, and then he mentioned the two parts of it. One deals with the civil rights movements and the other actually deals with the distributive justice. Okay, now let's see what is the another idea. Okay, so till now this is the main idea, first idea, I would say, not the main idea. Okay, so I'm still in the RC mode. Okay, so it is egalitarianism about subjective feelings of well-being, about wealth and income, about a broader conception of resources, or some other alternative. Okay, then the author has actually put up a question. Okay, the author actually asked, okay, so whether other metrics, like let's say the subjective feelings, okay, or other broader concepts of resources and all that, okay, should be used to understand egalitarianism. So is egalitarianism is about the subjective feeling, or is it about a broader concept? Okay, is it something about the individual feelings, or is it about a broader concept? Then the author, the second idea I would say, is the author is asking us the question, okay, that are there some other metrics that help us understand egalitarianism? Can we say that? Okay, now this leads us to the question of, okay, now to answer to this particular question, again we need to focus upon two questions. Okay, that whether an equal distribution of the preferred metric deals with the starting gates of each person's life, or with equality of life outcomes. Okay, and to answer that, whether the egalitarianism is about the subjective feeling or the broader concept, to understand this we need to understand that whether the equality was at the initial position, or it was during the later part of the life. Okay, or it is actually towards towards the outcome while we were actually leading our life. Okay, so these are the three main ideas that the author has said. Okay, now first option, definition of equality. Now definition of equality. Okay, sorry for the interruption of having water. Okay, so the definition of equality, the author has not defined equality. Okay, now is muddled. Muddled is actually confused. Okay, by lack of consensus. Okay, now what is this lack of consensus that the political philosophers, civil rights movements, and those insisting on distributive justice? Is there any kind of a confusion between all three? Okay, what he said, this is actually distorting the entire ideas presented. He's saying that the political philosophy, there is a concept of egalitarianism, which has two subparts, which is the civil rights movements and the distributive justice. Nowhere he says that it is muddled by or confused by lack of consensus. So this is an incorrect. Okay. Now, whether egalitarianism is equality of treatment in society, distributive justice, or based on some other alternative, leads to further questions that cannot be resolved. How we come to know that this cannot be resolved? Okay, this is not mentioned. Okay, he said now cannot be resolved is an extreme. Okay, that it cannot be done, it can never be done. Okay, it is always like that. Okay, so it is not mentioned. Okay, the author says to answer to this question, that whether egalitarianism is about the subjective feeling or it is about the broader concept, you need to see that whether the equality was given at the starting point or whether it is a part of the life outcomes. Okay, but it cannot be resolved is a not mentioned. Okay, it is an extreme. Okay, now the ideal metric for egalitarianism, now this seems to be correct, the ideal metric for egalitarianism. Okay, that is egalitarianism is about what? Okay, and whether this metric should deal with equality during initial or later stage of the person's life are contentious issues. Okay, now this is debatable. Okay, you need to debate, okay, that whether it is the starting gate of each person's life or it is about the equality of a life outcomes. Okay, so this seems to be the correct answer. In political philosophy, egalitarianism means equality at the beginning of each person's life, irrespective of life's outcome. So the author is saying that it is not irrespective of the life's outcome. Okay, he's saying that we need to see whether the equality was given at the beginning of each person's life or whether it was equality at the of life outcome. We need to see the both factors. It is not irrespective. Okay, and secondly, it is missing upon the metrics part. Okay, that what actually determines egalitarianism. Okay, so it is missing upon the subjective feeling and the broader concepts metrics part. So by that reason, the third is actually your correct answer. Okay, so you can go by the option negation technique. Will gonna help you answer this question in a better manner. Okay, so I hope you get this correct. Okay, so